The Indiana Fever just shocked the WNBA by waiving Kyra Lambert, and the entire basketball world is buzzing. On paper, it looks like just another roster move, a small adjustment, nothing major. But if you've been following this team, if you've been paying attention to the timing, the reactions, and the energy around the league, you know it's not just that. Fans believe this move signals something way bigger, the return of Caitlin Clark. Think about it, Kyra Lambert wasn't a huge piece of the roster, but she was steady. She filled a spot. She played her role. For the Fever to suddenly cut her loose, it raised a lot of eyebrows. Why now? Why in the middle of the season with no clear replacement? And that's where the speculation started to explode. Because this isn't happening in a vacuum. This comes at the exact moment people have been whispering about Caitlin Clark's recovery. She's been sidelined with a groin injury for weeks, leaving fans starved for updates. The Fever never gave a clear timetable. They kept it vague, quiet, almost too quiet. And then, suddenly, boom, the roster is shuffled. It's the kind of move that makes fans suspicious. Not because they think something's wrong, but because it feels like something big is about to happen. And if you look at how Fever fans, and honestly, WNBA fans in general, have reacted to its chaos, social media is flooded with takes. Some are convinced this is the first step in clearing space for Caitlin to rejoin the lineup. Others think the Fever are trying to distract people from how poorly they've been playing without her. But almost no one believes this was just a random decision. And let's be real here, the Fever need Caitlin Clark. She's not just another rookie. She's the heartbeat of this team and the main attraction of the league. When Caitlin plays, arenas sell out. When she sits, the energy drops. Every highlight reel, every TV package, every ticket promotion, it all revolves around her. That's why this move feels different. It feels calculated, strategic, and if it really does mean Caitlin is coming back sooner than expected, the WNBA is about to explode. But here's the tension, the comeback story. Everyone's waiting for might also be the most dangerous gamble the Fever could make. Groin injuries are no joke. They're tricky, easy to re-aggravate. If Caitlin comes back too soon, it could cost her more than just the season. It could jeopardize her long-term future. That's why this one little roster move isn't just about basketball. It's about business. It's about marketing. It's about the impossible pressure that's been placed on one 22-year-old to carry an entire league. So is this just another cut and dry roster adjustment? Or is it the opening chapter of Caitlin Clark's dramatic return? Either way, the Fever just lit the fuse, and the WNBA is holding its breath. The moment the Fever announced they were waiving Kyra Lambert, the fan base exploded. At first glance, it might seem Kyra Lambert wasn't putting up superstar numbers. She wasn't the face of the team. But that's exactly why the decision didn't make sense. Why cut a steady, reliable guard midseason when your roster is already struggling for depth? That's the question that instantly set off alarms across the WNBA community. For fans, this wasn't just about losing a role player, it was about the timing. Caitlin Clark has been sidelined, and the Fever's offense has looked flat without her. Everyone knows she's the spark, the engine, the one player who can turn an ordinary game into a headline moment. And right when whispers about her recovery start gaining steam, the team suddenly makes a roster shuffle. To a lot of people, it didn't feel like coincidence, it felt like foreshadowing. On social media, the takes came fast. Some fans said, "This is it. They're clearing space. Caitlin's coming back." Others were skeptical, arguing it might just be a desperate attempt to shake things up after a string of poor performances. But regardless of which side you're on, one thing was clear. Nobody thought this was just a routine move. That's the power of Caitlin Clark. Every little thing the Fever does now gets magnified because of her presence. Even when she isn't on the court, if she posts a workout clip, fans dissect every frame looking for signs of progress. If the Fever shuffle a contract, fans wonder if it's to make room for her return. And in this case, waiving Lambert became more than just a transaction. It became the spark for a wildfire of speculation. From the Fever's perspective, maybe it really was just basketball logic. Maybe they needed flexibility. Maybe they saw an opportunity to experiment with lineups. But the problem is, when you're a team built around one of the most watched rookies in sports history, nothing you do is ever just basketball. Every move is under a microscope. Every decision carries weight. And that microscope doesn't just come from fans, it comes from the league itself. The WNBA knows Caitlin Clark drives ratings, ticket sales, and national attention. They know her return would bring a wave of media coverage that no other player could generate right now. So when the Fever make a move like this, It doesn't just feel like team business, it feels like league business. That's why the Lambert cut hit so differently. For die-hard fans, it wasn't about losing Kyra. It was about what her absence might mean. Was this the front office quietly preparing for Caitlin to return? Was this part of a bigger plan to reignite their season? Or was it simply a team scrambling to figure things out without their star? Whatever the answer is, one thing is undeniable. The Fever turned what should have been a footnote transaction into headline drama. And now, all eyes are locked on what happens next. To understand why this roster move matters so much, you have to look at Caitlin Clark's injury timeline. Because her absence hasn't just been about a player sitting out. It's been a full-blown mystery, with the Fever keeping details as vague as possible. Fever just shocked the WNBA why fans are waiving Kyra Lambert, and the entire basketball world is all started when Caitlin went down with a groin injury. Just another roster move. At first, a small adjustment. Downplayed it. Nothing major. They called it day to day. But if you've been following this team, she'd be reevaluated. If you've been paying attention to the timing, the real updates, and the energy just around enough information to keep people guessing. It's not just that. For fans believe this move signals something way bigger. The new face of the return of Caitlin Clark. Silence think about it, Kyra Lambert. Fans wanted answers. Reporters wanted details. She was steady, but the Fever filled a spot. They gave almost she played her role. Weeks passed. For the Fever, the speculation grew louder. It raised a lot of eyebrows. You had optimism clips of Caitlin in the middle of the season, shooting with no smiling with teammates, and that's when the speculation started to explode. Because this isn't happening in a running at full speed. This comes at the exact moment she's ready. People have been whispering about. You had fear. Clark's recovery. Groin injuries are notoriously tricky. Groin injuries you don't just bounce back from them. Leaving fans starved for upgrades. They flare up. The Fever never can destroy a season if you rush back. They kept it vague. That's why every update tore lack of one mattered. And the Fever could have ended the speculation by being transparent. It's the kind of move that makes fans suspicious. Silent. Not because they think something's wrong, but because it feels like something big is about to happen. And if you look at how Fever fans now, and honestly, think about the timing WNBA fans, just as the whispers about her return are reaching their peak. Social media suddenly flooded with Kyra Lambert. Some are convinced fans made the first step in clearing space for Caitlin's timeline was still join the lineup. If she wasn't close, the Fever are trying to shuffle the roster now. People from how poorly they've been playing around her, if not to prepare for something bigger. This was just a random decision. Caitlin Clark's return isn't just about Fever need. Fever, it's about the Clark. The WNBA not just another rookie to her star she's power more than any rookie in history. And the main attraction of the face of their promotion. When Caitlin plays, their highlight reels, arenas sell out, ticket sales. When she sits, when she's on the floor, energy drops, attendance doubles. Every highlight reel, when she's off, every TV arenas package, feel empty. Every ticket her injury wasn't just a setback around her teammate. That's why this blow to the league's momentum. It feels calculated. That's why fans are so desperate for updates. And if it really does, her return isn't just about basketball. It's about the WNBA's future. The WNBA is about to turn her injury timeline. Here's the tension to comeback story. Everyone's waiting for press conference. Also be the most dangerous gamble the Fever in the maker. Groin injuries are no joke. They're tricky. So when the Fever made their latest move, if Caitlin comes back too soon to the fire, it cost gasoline on just the season because the jeopardize her long-term behind everything. That's why this one little roster move isn't just whether the Fever are willing to risk. It's about business. Her long-term health for short-term. It's about the impossible pressure the story gets placed on one. Because a 22-year-old to carry back to change everything. So is this just another cut and dry roster adjustment? Here's where things get dangerous. Chapter of Caitlin Clark's dramatic Clark making a dramatic comeback sounds amazing for headlines, and the WNBA is holding its breath. But the moment the Fever announced they were waiving Kyra Lambert, not just fan base exploded, but for the entire future of the WNBA. Groin injuries are no joke. They're not like a rolled ankle. She wasn't the face of the team. Tape it up, but that's exactly why the decision. The kind of injury that lingers. Why cut a steady? The kind that comes back if you don't give it enough time. When your roster is already struggling for derail an athlete's prime year. Instantly set off alarms. Isn't just any player. She's the league. Biggest investment right now. This wasn't just about some fans are nervous. It was about the time. If the Fever really are clearing space for her return, and the Fever's offense has looked flat without her. Because she's ready. Everyone knows because they need her back. There's a huge difference between the two who can turn an ordinary game into a headline moment. Clark don't look the same. Whispers about her recovery start gaining their momentum disappears. The team suddenly makes a roster shuffle. The arena start looking at people. She's not just their best player. She's their foreshadowing. On social media, every three-pointer, the takes came fast. Every highlight clip. Some fans said, sells the Fever as a team worth watching space. Without her, Caitlin's coming just back. Another team trying to stay afloat. Arguing it might just be a desperate. Your team's entire identity relies on one player. You start making decisions out of desperation instead of patience. One thing was clear, and that's the nightmare scenario here. This was just a routine comes back to sue. That's the power of Caitlin. If she re-aggravates every little thing the Fever, she's not just out for a couple more magnified because of her presence. Or worse, even when she isn't on the court, she could turn a short-term injury into a long-term problem. Fans dissect and the WNBA has seen this progress. Stars Fever shuffle the contract their teams. Fans wonder if it's to make room for her. Fans remember those stories. case. And now, waiving Lambert all eyes are on more than just a transaction. She isn't just another spark for a wildfire of speculation. Everyone is banking on to carry the league into a new era. It really was just basketball logic. Maybe pressure, flexibility. The Fever they saw an opportunity to WNBA wants ratings, and fans want a hero. When your team built around one of the most watched rookies in sports history, nothing you do is ever just basketball. But what nobody wants to talk about is the cost. Every decision comes back to fast, and that microscope doesn't just come from fans. Imagine the headlines. The league itself. Caitlin Clark Rangers groin knows early Clark drives ratings. It wouldn't just be a setback for her, and it would be a disaster for they know her return would bring a wave of media. It would prove coverage that critics already say generate that the WNBA doesn't. The Fever make a move like this the way it should. It doesn't just feel like team business. It feels like league business because the Fever might think they're making a simple roster move. For die-hard fans, Caitlin's comeback. It wasn't about losing Kyra. Spark one of the greatest storylines of the season. Or it could risk the future quietly preparing for Caitlin's more to the league than anyone else bigger plan to reignite the tension hanging in the air. Or was it simply a team move about hope to figure things out? Or is it about pressure? Because the difference can define not just this season. One thing is undeniable. Caitlin's career. Indiana Fever just shocked the WNBA. This story isn't just about Kyra Lambert. And the entire basketball even just about the Indiana Fever. On paper, it's about the WNBA like just another roster as a whole and how small players return. Nothing major. Redefine the league's future. If you've been following this years, if you've been paying attention to fighting for more visibility, reactions, more respect around more fans, you know it's not just always been incredible players. This move signals something way bigger. The return of Caitlin Clark has moved the needle for Kyra Lambert wasn't a huge piece of the roster. She's a once-in-a-generation star. She filled a spot. She played her role. Casual viewers for the Fever to suddenly cut her loose. Her impact raised a lot of our basketball. Why now? Just look at the numbers. Why in the middle of a season plays with no clear sales double, and that's where the speculation started to explode. Highlight reels because this isn't happening in a vacuum. This comes at the exact moment. People have not just whispering about arenas she's introducing in entire. She's been sidelined with a groin injury for and that's why her injury hit so hard for upgrade. Because when Caitlin went down, never gave a clear. It wasn't just a setback for the Fever. It vague. Was a setback for the WNBA's momentum. And then that's what makes this moment feel so massive. The Fever kind of Kyra Lambert that makes fans suspicious. Like a small roster shuffle, not because they think something's wrong, in the bigger picture, but because it feels like something big is about to happen. Caitlin's return. And if you look at how Fever fans, her return doesn't just mean another player back on the floor means the league have reacted its momentum chaos. Getting a jump social start. Media is flooded with takes. If the WNBA is the first step in clearing space for, that's Caitlin a dangerous join the lineup. Because what happens if the Fever isn't ready? What happens if she comes back too soon? They've been playing without her. What happens? Almost no one believes this was just a random one star that they forget real here. Build the rest of the foundation. That's the bigger picture here. She's not just another rookie. May be the face of the WNBA right now, and the main attraction. She can't be the only one carrying plays. The league has to balance her superstar when she sits with protecting energy drops. Growing highlight stars, every showing that women's basketball is bigger than just one name revolves around her. That's why this move feels different. The fire has to spread, calculated, and that's why the Fever's move. And if it really does mean, because if this is really about Caitlin's sooner than expected, then the WNBA is standing at about to explode. They can use the tension to come back to show they've learned from everyone's waiting for mistakes. Protect also be the most dangerous gamble the Fever could make. Keep building growing injuries are no joke. They're tricky. Easy to re-aggravate. Rush her back comes back and risk everything. It could cost her more than just the season. It could jeopardize her long-term future. They'll debate. That's why they'll analyze every second. Isn't just about what they really want. Is about business. That the league is about thinking long-term. It's about not impossible pressure. Because Caitlin Clark isn't just a rookie trying to prove herself. Entire league. The symbol of the W is another cut and dry roster adjustment. The way the Fever, or is it the opening chapter of Caitlin herself dramatic return? This next chapter will decide the Fever just lit the fuse is built and the WNBA is holding its breath on a rush comeback. The moment the Fever announced under the weight of Kyra Lambert, the fan base exploded. So here's where we land. At first glance, the Indiana Fever didn't just make a roster move, putting up superstar numbers. The entire. She wasn't the face of the conversation. But that's exactly why Kyra Lambert didn't make sense. They may have tipped their hand, steady, signaling that Caitlin Clark's comeback when he's right around the corner. Struggling for whether that's true or not. Fans already set off alarms across. This isn't just about one game or one season. It's about the way Caitlin carries on her player. It was about the league. And on the Clark has women's basketball, and the Fever's offense has looked flat surrounding her is magnified. Everyone knows she's the spark. Every injury update becomes headline news. One player, every hint of her return, an ordinary game into a headline moment. The Fever know whispers about the WNBA knows it, and we know it. The team suddenly makes a roster shuffle. Isn't just playing. To a lot of basketball, she's rewriting the story of the league. It felt like foreshadowing. But here's on social media, that story can go to very different directions. Some fans said, "Option one, the fairy tale comeback, clearing space. Caitlin takes the court. Caitlin's coming back. The crowd erupts. Others were skeptical. The WNBA arguing it might just be a iconic storyline to shake things up after a superstar who came back stronger. But regardless of which side you're on, cemented her place as the face of the league. Nobody thought this was just a routine move. That's what everyone wants. That's the power of Caitlin Clark. Every little thing the Fever pressure gets now gets. She magnified because of her presence. Injury lingers. Even when she isn't on the court, the narrative shifts. A workout clip looks desperate. Fans dissect the Fever frame looking for signs of progress. Caitlin's career momentum takes a hit before it even really began. Fans wonder if it's to make razors for her WNBA. And in this case, walking right waiving Lambert, because when you invest this much into one star, it became the spark for a wildfire of speculation. Not just for her sake, from the Fever's perspective, for the future of the entire league. Was just basketball logic. Caitlin Clark finally needed flexibility. Maybe they won't just be another game to experiment. It'll be a defining moment. But the problem that tells us whether your team built around one of the most watched rookies in sports history, or if they're still trapped by ever just basketball. They have held their back in the past under a microscope. Either way, every decision carries weight, and that microscope doesn't just come from fans. That's the story. The league itself. Caitlin Clark's comeback WNBA knows just about one player. It's about the entire ticket sales. WNBA stepping into a new era. They know her return will bring a wave of small roster move coverage that no other player could generate right now. So when the Fever make a move like this, it doesn't just feel like team business. It feels like the start of Caitlin's legendary comeback. Or is the league putting too much pressure on one star? It wasn't about losing Kyra. Comments I'll be reading. It was about what her absence might mean. If you made it this far, the front office quietly preparing for Caitlin to return women's basketball. Was this part of a bigger plan to do me a favor, hit that like button, or was it simply a team scrambling to turn on notifications without their star? You don't miss the next big answer is, because trust me, one thing is undeniable. The next few weeks in the WNBA are going to be historic. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.